Okay, we're going to start paragraph right at the end of the book, paragraph 27. We get to 27 and 28. Is the last
Page 592.
Page 592. Excellent. Let me mark that down here, actually. For the next time I teach Kuzari 20 years from now, this will be so. I told my kids after 120 years, they'll do what they want with the Sfarim in my library, like 12 bookcases here. But anything I have, all my notes and books and Sfarim that I've taught from, I have hundreds of notes and stuff that stays in the family. So someone one day will use this again, maybe. Who knows? Anyways, so where we left off was the topic of intent, kavanah. You know, if you have good, the king was basically saying, look, Hashem knows what's in your heart. You have good intentions. You want to go to Israel. Okay, that's all you really need. You don't have to do anything about it per se. Again, we get this feeling, again, whether this conversation ever took place for real, this is all the product of imagination of Rabbi Yehuda Levi, whatever it is, it's the king having a very hard time saying goodbye to the chaver who wants to go on Aliyah. He wants to leave. You can see him kind of holding his jacket as he sits in the waiting room at JFK to fly to Israel. So here's his response now about intentions. So paragraph 27, Kaf Zayin. Amar HaChaver, Zeh met kasher yimana ha'maaseh. You're right that the good intentions are good intentions and they're count, so to speak, when something stops you from doing the action. Aval ha'adam munach lo beino uvein ma'avayav u'ma'asehu. Generally speaking, it turns out to be the person himself that's the stumbling block between him and his goals. Ha'adam ne'esham, and the person himself is guilty. In other words, we sometimes say, well, I would have been there to help so-and-so, but, you know, I had something came up. When in truth, very often, it's not that something came up, it's that we ourselves decided that we're not going to do it. So we got in the way of our progress or doing our mitzvah, and we therefore don't get any sachar. We're going to discuss this idea soon about good intentions. Therefore, Ne'emar, it says, you'll blow the trumpets and God will, quote, remember, and there will be a remembrance for God. Zichron Trua, a Trua of remembrance. It's not like God needs a reminder or to be woken up, chas v'shalom. Rather, the action of a person need to be as complete as possible, meaning before when he does the action and in his intention, and then those actions will be rewarded, will be appropriate to be rewarded. Example, person davens. Are they just mumbling a bunch of words? Or are they saying the words and having intention? Imagine for a moment you go to your boss and you want a raise. And you walk in your boss, you say, I really need a raise because my wife needs more food, more clothes in the house, and we really need to buy more shoes. Have a good day, bye. Okay, that's not going to go over very well with the boss. But we do that with God. But when our actions and our intentions are in sync, then there's a reward for that. Now, does that mean if you do it in mitzvah and there's no kavanah, that you don't get a reward? And what exactly is kavanah? Hold on. So the Torah, as we've said many, many times in the Kuzari, the Torah speaks in human terms, not that God needs reminders, not that God forgets, that we should remind. By the way, God, don't forget, I put on talis this morning, I put on my tefillin this morning. But it's an idea that when we do the action and have the proper kavanah, that action comes before Hashem, as it were, and it's in front of Hashem. If the action was with no intention, or it's the kavanah but no action, there's nothing that comes out of that. Except when kavanah cannot kick in. There are certain times where kavanah can't kick in. How? We'll see. And there are times when you may admit or have a form of vidui as to the reason you can't do a certain thing. That does give some toilet. And you might say, well, what are you talking about? He's giving an example. So that is a form almost of vidui, saying, look, we really should be bringing korbanot. For people who start, it's like we really should be in Israel. We should have a Beit HaMikdash. But therefore we can't. We really want to, but we can't. So what's going on here, first of all? What's this business of intention, action? That's part A. And part B, there's a very well-known statement that says, Machshava tova, Kadosh Baruch Hu mitztarfa lema'aseh. If a person had good intentions, then Hashem kind of makes it up to be an action. I'm going to kind of loosely translate like that. So first of all, I'm going to give you a little bit of a teaser. We're not going to spend any time on the idea of what kavanah is, other than to say it is thinking about doing the mitzvah and doing it out of Vat Hashem and Yirat Hashem. Why do I put on tefillin? If I am about to put on tefillin and I have absolutely no intention, I just boom, 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 and I wrap it and I start to daven. I had no thought process. There's nothing. Did I do a mitzvah? I did a mitzvah. But it's like, imagine you walk into your mother's home, your spouse's home, your child's home, it's their birthday, and you take the gift, you go, here, and you throw it on the table, okay? That's not going to go over very well. And just kind of throwing on the mitzvah or doing the mitzvah with absolutely no thought process being, I'm doing it because Hashem commanded me. I'm doing it because I love Hashem. I do it because I have Yirat Hashem. There's a big gaping hole there. You still did an action. There's still something, but it's missing a big piece. But what does it mean to have intention and no action? I get up in the morning and I say, I know someone who's in the hospital, and after I finish teaching at school, I'm going to take the 176 or 174, I'm going to take the whatever bus. I'm going into town, I'm going to go and I'm going to get another bus, and I'm going to go down to take the train. I'm going to get off at Yefei Nof. I'm going to walk down the hill. I'm going to go into Shari Tzedek. I'm going to visit my friend. But I don't do it. I decide not to. Was that intention? Was that just kind of, or just changed my mind? What exactly was going on there? That's part.
What about my case with my mother who passed away?
One second. Let me finish this. The other side of the coin. I get on the bus. I had the intention to go. I get into town. I look at my phone. I have a message from somebody, urgent. I need to see you right now. Someone's very sick or died, and I turn around and I come back. Okay? Those are two totally different scenarios. One is I planned to go, but I changed my mind. The other is I was on the way to do the mitzvah and something prevented me from doing it. So now, in the first scenario, okay, you had a good intention. I had good intentions to give a lot of tzedakah today. I had good intentions to try and help somebody today. I had good intentions to learn another page of Gemara. Very nice. Shkoyach. It didn't do anything. It was mamash lo yatsa lefa'al. It didn't happen. There's nothing. But if I had the intention and something came up in place of me stopping it, remember what he's saying here is if I stop it, I say I changed my mind, which the Gemara refers to as nimlach, changed his mind. There's no action there, no intention there that Hashem's going to use for anything. But when I started the process, I started to drive to do something, I tried to take the bus, and something happened, and I had to turn around. I'll give you a perfect example. There's a guy I daven with every day, and a number of months ago, he lost his father. He just finished his year for his mother, and his father passed away. And I really felt bad because it was a tough go for him. And he was sitting Shiva in a certain location in Yerushalayim, and I have no idea why. I'm usually pretty good about buses, and I looked online which bus I should take. And what I basically did was one of these, as opposed to going right like that. And it took me like an hour and a half for something that should have taken literally 40 minutes. And by the time I got there, I couldn't go to him because I had a doctor's appointment. So I called him, I messaged him, I said, I'm so sorry I couldn't come. That is, I really tried, and it just my plans got messed up. So let's go back now to the statement of Machshava Tova,
But I think my case is a third case.
Which is,
I had the intention. I got there. I went to visit my mother at Charlie Tzedek Hospital. Nothing stopped me on the way. No messages on the way to tell me, oh, you need to do something else or you can't go there. I got the whole way. And only when I get to the ward where she was on Friday morning,
right,
and I say, which room is she in now? And I get told she's passed away the previous night.
right,
And I couldn't do either Bikur Cholim or Kibudem.
right. But you did
Except
kibud.
maybe in a sense there was still Kibudem.
You first of all, you did kibud. Absolutely.
Right.
There's no question you did the mitzvah. Okay, Bikur Cholim was taken away from you.
Right.
It was
taken away.
Right. I have a lulav and a tog on the table. I'm about to take it. Someone takes it. I don't have it to make the bracha anymore. The mitzvah was taken away from you. Okay, but the kibbud avim you did. There's no question about that. But again, you're right. It's that his point here is the monea. The thing that prevents you from doing it, is it yourself or is it something outside of you? If it's something that for you yourself, you just changed your mind, okay. Or look, I'm so tired, I can't move. Okay, it's acceptable. People get tired and plans change, but it doesn't mean you have the intention doesn't help you. It doesn't do anything. But when you get there and you find the mother passed away, or you're on the way and like I say, you just got way late because of a problem, or there's a cheves chashud, you're sitting there for 45 minutes, you have to turn around. The monea is outside of you, and there the machshava does something.
Force majeure.
Sorry, force majeure. Exactly. So, what does that statement mean? That machshava tova kadosh baruch hu mitztarfa l'maaseh. So the general understanding is that what I just said, that if you had the plan and you thought about it and you started to do it and something outside of you stopped it, that Hashem takes that action as ki'ilu, you did it. But I heard a beautiful, beautiful comment recently, maybe even mentioned it somewhere along the way. Unfortunately, we do many, many things, actions with no kavanah, many. And also, on the other hand, we have many, many times, we have good intentions to do something, but we don't. So what does Hashem do when we have a good intention? He's mitztaref the two together. The machshava tova mitztarfa lema'aseh. I did an action with no kavanah. I have a kavanah with no action. Hashem takes them and puts them together, and you have a full product. I thought it was absolutely beautiful. It's actually based on something in Tanya, which leads me to the next statement, which is that the whole topic of kavanah and how it ties into avat Hashem and yirat Hashem spans multiple chapters late in Sefer Tanya, and that discussion therefore is going to be delayed by, I'm going to guess, at least a year and a half. And we're going to come back to that discussion more than what we're talking about right now, because Bezrat Hashem, I hope, like I say, in about 2 weeks to start with Sefer Tanya. But let's take a look at the next paragraph, or not the next continuation of this paragraph. Uvehe'arat bnei adam hitorutam el avat hamakom hahu hakadosh yinachetz ha'inyan hamiyuchal sachar gadol u'gmul rav. Now things change when a person is awakened, aroused to do, and presses forward with the action that he wants, or the serious intention. That already has gemul. I sit down and I make a plan. We saw this a couple of shiurim ago. I sit down and I make a plan to make aliyah. I actually make a plan that hishtokekut, the desire, the drive, that yearning has something to it as well. Kamo shenemar, as it says, Ata takum terachem Tzion, ki et lechanena ki b'moed, ki ratzu avadecha et avaneh et afarah yechonenu. Meaning, when is there going to be the Hashem, so to speak, I'm going to free translate, like reestablish the Beit HaMikdash and Mashiach comes, when we have this yearning and this desire for even the stones and the dirt and the earth of Eretz Yisrael. I'm going to read you, there's no slide, just read you a couple of sentences here from Aviner. It says, Aval yashno davar nosaf. There's one other thing. B'hishtokekut adam Yisrael Eretz Yisrael. When a Jew yearns for the land of Israel, ein kan rak avodat Hashem pratit. That is not just an individual's service of God. B'chavanato zo uvavodato mitoch hatshuka hi, with his intention, with that intention and that desire. Hu gam mevi geula l'am Yisrael. That alone helps to bring Mashiach. Hayishtotkekut le'Eretz Yisrael meviya legula. that a person living in Chutz La'aretz, and I'll go further, a person living here who enables people and helps people to make aliyah, that brings geula. That when it comes to that topic, there is no individual personal cheshbon for that. Yesh kan cheshbon klal Yisraeli. If I decide to go be Menachem Avel or go to help out a soup kitchen, okay, that's a personal thing for me. It doesn't. Yes, every mitzvah helps Am Yisrael, but as far as bringing geula, I don't know. But he's telling us very clearly when there's the hishtokekut and really a true deep desire, even before action is taken, that already helps to bring geula. So the guy just said, when is it that the geula will come? When people even have this desire. So continuing in the text, the last sentence before kafchet, so no lamar means to say, Yerushalayim omnam tibaneh, that Yerushalayim will indeed be rebuilt, kishichsefu b'nei Yisrael, when the Jewish people will yearn for it, tachlit hakosef ad sheyechonenu avaneha va'afara. What is he mentioned specifically? The desire that the stones and the earth of the land of Israel. We know we've talked about this before. That the Gemara tells us that we have Gedolei Yisrael, times of the Gemara, who talked about that all they want to do is to go into, or they would go to Eretz Yisrael and they would roll around in the earth. They would kiss the stones of the land. That desire, even from being outside Chutz La'aretz, but not just saying, oh, Mashiach comes one day, I'll if I can sell my house, if my parnas is okay, and if I can sell my diamond business or this. Talking about a person really has the desire. One more sentence from Rav Aviner. This is what will bring the geula. The true, deep, great yearning for the land of Israel. Rabbi Yoshua Mikotna wrote in his book, Yeshua Malko, quote, Ki kibbutz hu itchalta de geula. Kibbutz galuyot, what you and I have been doing and done, and what people continue to do, of coming from Chutz La'aretz to making aliyah, and specifically now, we've seen this great desire, even from people who, they're the lower level of religiosity, let's say, or the average person, or really the top tier. It's almost certain that the spirit of redemption will start to sparkle. How does he know that? Because of the true desire we all see. Hishtokekut, tenuah, hitorut, tenuat, shivat zion. People in the Chutz La'aretz, if they didn't read the entire book of the Kuzari, and only saw this last paragraph, this second to last paragraph, this should be a wake-up call for people. I once posted on Facebook a warning that a person who does not want to make aliyah should absolutely, positively not read Eim Habanim Smecha, because it'll get them to want to make aliyah. So it's a very dangerous book to read if they don't want to make aliyah. I would also say someone who doesn't want to make aliyah for real should never read the very, very last couple lines of the Kuzari. So now, after hearing all of this, after hearing what the Rav has said about intention, what he's said about the closest to Eretz Yisrael, the desire to live in Eretz Yisrael, yes, right. It's very good, Moshe. Without getting into levels of kavanah, one easy thing we can all do is don't talk and pay attention in shul. I'll tell you something interesting in response to that. My father, Alav Shalom, it was his second yard site on Sunday, a couple days ago, and he came to visit here in Ma'ale Adumim a few times, but only one time was he. One time or twice? Twice. They were here for Shabbat, and I took him to the Moroccan shul with me on his first visit. First, that was a trip for him. I mean, Mr. Ashkenazi himself. But he came to Moroccan shul, and after davening, one of the first things he said to me is, "Wow, it's so quiet." I was in a shul in Cleveland in the early 80s. I may have told this story. It was Shabbat morning, and it was a free-for-all. I had never seen a shul so noisy. And a guy sitting in front of me turned around, who was a member of the shul. He said, listen, I just wanted to tell you, it's not usually this noisy. It's usually much worse. I said, it can't get any worse than this. I wanted to leave, but I couldn't for various reasons. It was terrible. And Moshe, you're right. There are certain things that we can do before we even get to the issue of kavanah, and that's be quiet and not talk, and especially at certain points in the davening. Very good. So now that we've gotten to this point, now the king, in his final comment to the Rav, makes a beautiful statement. And with this, the book ends. Amar Kuzari, paragraph 28. Ima davar ken, if that is so, mina'acha man'acha asham. The one person who tries to prevent you from making aliyah, that person's the guilty party. Because you want to do the mitzvah, you have the intention, and you're not the one trying to stop it. And Tachlis, he's talking now about himself. He says, I'm trying to stop you. Then if you don't go, I'm the guilty party. And one who helps you is one who's doing the mitzvah, which means an organization like Nefesh B'Nefesh, an individual like Michael, Moshe, myself, who talk to people potentially who are thinking of Aliyah and try to help them, answering questions, giving encouragement. It's a mitzvah. It's not just helping somebody, which itself is a mitzvah. It's a mitzvah that rolls into this whole grander thing of Aliyah, which rolls into the whole issue of Kibbutz Galuyot, which rolls into the coming of Mashiach. Elokim, now he gives him a bracha. Elokim yazorcha al kavanatcha. Hashem should help you with your intention. V'gzor lecha tov kevakashatcha v'hishtadlutcha. And he should grant you goodness of your wish, of your desire, of your request, and through your hishtadlut. And he should be the one to help you and support you. And he should greatly reward you. Because he is the Baal of goodness, the God of chesed and of reward. And there is no God besides him. There is no rock besides God. Hashem should do with you, with his kindness and his goodness, also with those who have intention like you, for his name's sake. Amen, amen, Selah. That's the end of the book. It's amazing, amazing, amazing end to a book. We have, I'm going to read you, so the Rav Aviner has not even a sentence, but like a statement. Nishlam hasefer be'ezrat Elokai Barach. The book is concluded with the help of God. Umana Ezro, how good is his help? Unotena Ezra Shevach ad Ein Sof. There is, and then he says, Baruch Hashem Tam v'Nishlam Hashevach leBorei Olam. There is many books, and you'll find at the end of many svarim with Tushlama Tov Tam v'Nishlam Shevach leKel Borei Olam. It's finished. It's complete. It is a praise of God. We have concluded, as I was saying in the message today, probably about 5.5 years that we spent on the Kuzari, and that's with having skipped a part of the 5th essay. By the way, I checked with other people who've taught it and learned it. Almost everyone seems to do that. They get to a certain point in the 5th essay, they jump to the end. So it's not just us. But it was a very interesting journey. We started off with the initial question of this topic of the dream, and where was it going to take us? And we spent obviously the majority of the time talking about the Rav's interaction with the king. I think we've learned a lot about Emunah. We learned a lot about ourselves. We learned about a relationship with Hashem. And I'd like to say that it's a good jumping off point, a good springboard to the next step of the book of Tanya, which we're going to start from square one. Whether you've learned Tanya, you've never opened it, you have any relationship with the Sefer or not, we're going to start with, when we do get to it, I'll send out a note about it. We'll start with the background on Chassidut, which will probably take us at least one class, not at least, it'll take us one class. I don't want to spend more than that. The introduction to Tanya, which will discuss what's called the book plate, which is like most people just, you open the book, you'll get the title and you move to the text. But the book plate is actually an integral part of the book. And then we'll get started with that. Bezrat Hashem, approximately 2-3 weeks.
I don't understand what you mean by book plate.
So when you
book
open,
plate is the introduction.
No, that's the Hakdama or the preface. I'm talking about when you see something like, here, I'll show you. Don't move. Don't go away. When you open a book and you see the following.
Maybe you mean Shar HaSefer.
This. Wait. Let me get it.
It's
Just the name of the
describing
book,
the book.
who wrote
contained.
it. That's it.
Right.
Okay. So usually
It's
say
the
the the
Shar
Kuter.
HaSefer.
Okay,
In Hebrew, I
Shabbat.
think
Fine.
Shar HaSefer.
Okay. Like, okay,
Okay.
you know, move on. But
Right.
that actually is an integral part of the book. Most people don't realize that.
Okay.
So it has been a pleasure to have spent this many years on this book.
Harav Shem Tov, even though I've only come in at the end, let me say for everybody, Chazak, Chazak, V'nit Chazek. And just a question, which reminds me of a question that I asked the Chatan Torah in my shul on Simchat Torah.
Yes.
At the Kiddush after davening, was I noticed in the Reshut for Chatan Torah, we say Amod Amod Ploni Ben Ploni lahashlim et Torah.
Mm-hmm.
But when we finish a Masechet in the Talmud, we say we make a siyum, and the Hadran says L'sayem od Sfarim v'chulei. So why do we mashlim the Torah, but we mesayem a Masechet?
So it depends. So I'll answer you the Sfaradi way.
So I remember that because here you mentioned Tam v'nishlam b'shevach levorei olam when you finish books. And I had, in advance of this shir tonight, I had thought that I wanted to say Chazak, Chazak v'nit Chazek. I had forgotten about the expression Tam v'nishlam. And you mentioned that, and I said, wait a minute. So that's another thing that is special only to Torah, that we say Chazak, Chazak v'nit Chazek, and we do not use that expression for other books, but we say Tam v'nishlam.
Except for Torah, I've not seen any other sefer. No. Chazak, Chazak v'nit Chazek, no, I have not. But I will tell you, by Sfaradim, there is a hadran that's actually made, not after the end of Zot HaBracha, because you finish Zot HaBracha, you move the sefer over, you open up the next one, you start right away. There's nothing else. Mamash 10 seconds later. There is a hadran. There is a what's the word I'm looking for? Like a kind of thing after that. So there is this idea that's something similar, but there was something I was going to say. Hold on, shoot, what was it? Oh, that every time when a person has an aliyah, whether it's on usually it refers to Shvi'i on Shabbat, it's person's called the mashlim every week. He's called the mashlim.
They called an extra person. The acharon would be the mashlim.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Whoever's the mashlim is the one supposed to say kaddish also on Shabbat.
Right. Right. So
it's a package deal.
I would not have said Kaddish before I lost my first parent. But
yeah, no, that kind of Kaddish you could have.
The custom was in Ashkenazi shuls that the Baal Kriya says Kaddish.
Right. Correct.
Right. So the first Shabbat after my mother passed away, it was the Shabbat between Yom Kippur and Sukkot, Hazinu.
Right.
So I was called up for Shvi'i so that I could say Kaddish. Having finished reading Parashat Hazinu. And then last Shabbat, Chaye Sarah was one of my brother's bar mitzvah parashat. And the amazing thing I discovered in Motzei Shabbat was that all three of us had been called up that Shabbat in three different shuls in two cities.
Wow.
I was Shlishi. The younger of my brothers was in Yerushalayim was Shishi. And the brother in the middle, who was Bar Mitzvah, that was his Bar Mitzvah parasha. He had Maftir and Haftarah, of course. What else? And the Gabbai didn't know. He said the Gabbai called him up for Maftir. He didn't know that was his Bar. Stop!
Wow.
Stop! And also, I was so not expecting it because last Shabbat was the first time. It's not the first time I've ever been called up to the Kriyat Torah on Shabbat, but it was the first time I'd ever been called up to Shlishi. And I was so not expecting it that the Gabbai had to turn on my Hebrew name that I go up to, the one I have for the Brit. It's not Michael. I'm Chanoch Mordechai. So, and they know that. So they call me up, Chanoch Mordechai ben Avraham Moshe. And I didn't even notice. And then the Gabbai has to turn around and says, Michael. And then suddenly I realized, wait, didn't you just hear Avraham Moshe there at the end?
Okay, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure for this. Malka, you'll be able to hear the tape. We finished the book, and like I say, I'll send out a notification. But more than likely, the 23rd of the month will be Tanya Bezrat Hashem. And in the meantime, when anyone asks you about the Sefer Kuzari, you can tell them that you had the opportunity to learn from the Kuzari, and B'simcha Rabbah. Thank you, Moshe. And
Yes,
Toda
Cora,
rabba.
thank
Thank
you
you.
very
Cool.
much.
pleasure.
Sorry we're late. We
No
got stuck
problem.
at the eye doctor.
No problem. That's the
Eyes.
moment part, the eyes. No problem.
We wouldn't be able to see you anyway.
Sometimes that's a better off thing anyway. So have a great evening,
Thank
everybody.
you very much.
You're very welcome. Be
Okay.
well.
Bye.
Bye.
Tov לכולם.
Bye.